In this video lesson, we're going to go over image planes. Image planes are how you work with images in Maya to help you with your modeling process. So they're super useful for when you want to make an exact model. Say you made a drawing, a multi-view drawing of something, or you have an image or a drawing from somewhere else. It's really good to work with image planes so you're getting the model exact. And especially if you're working in a design studio or an entertainment facility, you're going to be getting typically you're going to be getting images from a designer somewhere, and you're going to be modeling them if you're a professional modeler. So what we're going to do is basically you have to set up your Maya project first. It's really essential to have your Maya project set up because as we did in a previous lesson, I showed you how to set up a Maya scene. So if you go to Files, if you don't have a project set up yet, then create a project. Or if you already have set one up, then go to Set Project. So we'll go to Set Project. Let me move the dialog box over here. Here is the project I've already set up. So it's my image plane basic, and I'm going to double click in there. And then these are the file subdirectories, which we went over in a previous lesson. So here's where the file structures are essential because Maya, these are certain pointers, has pointers to certain directories for looking for certain kinds of information for tasks. So scenes is where files get saved out. The geometry part of the file when you're working on it gets saved out. But source images is where you're going to get input files that are going to go into Maya you're going to be using for scenes. So you're going to be looking in there, or you're going to be putting data in there if you want to use it within Maya. If you want to use for texture mapping or image planes, it's going to be in source images. Okay, so I've already set this up. So normally you would go set, and then then you would set, but I'll hit cancel. Okay, so now a key thing with image planes is, okay, so I'm in my single view. So what I want to do is go over to a 4 view. You want to be in the view that you want the image to come in. And I know the image I have is for a front view. So we have a perspective view or a side view or the front view and top view. So I want to go to the front view. Okay, hit space bar. And I'm going to go up to the display command icons up here, which we've gone over a little bit before. We've done some of the shading things and grid. So now we're going to introduce a new one. We're going to go to the image plane button. So I'm going to hit the image plane button, right? And dialog box is going to come up. I'm going to move it over. And I have an image called DaVinci, and you'll see what that is in a minute. It's a very famous image. There we go. All right, famous DaVinci image here. All right, so I have this in here now. And I'm going to hit spacebar, and you'll see it. So now it showed up in all my different views here, okay? So I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks how to handle image files when you bring them in and what to do with them. So they're basically like an object, so you can move them around if you want it. If you want to do things to them, like you could move them, or you could change positions for them, which you'll need sometimes. Okay, for this lesson, we're not. This is just a single image we're going to put in the center of the scene. Okay, so we have the file here, and it's showing up in all the views. All right, okay, and it shows up here as well. It's in your outliner, so it's actually an object in the scene. Okay, you can access it over here as well. You can do certain things to it here. You can do all your normal stuff to your file, like if you want to move it, you want to scale it, if you want to do it numerically, you do that here as well. Okay, so a couple things you need to do. A lot of times you're going to want to just see the image in the view you're in, and you're also going to want to have a certain level of transparency because like this image is a little bright, so when you're modeling over, it's going to be hard to see. So we're going to do some controls. You can control it here, but a better place to control your display is over here in the attribute editor. So click on the attribute editor. And this now pops open a box here where we can do a lot of extra things to our image. There's a lot of controls. So when you want to control the transparency, that is in this button here, or this dialog box here. So we can do 0.5. Okay, so now it's got a certain level of transparency. Okay, now we may not want to see the image in all the views, right? So what I'm going to want to do here is you're going to switch that. Instead of, you see this button up here, it says display, it says in all views. So when it comes in by default, it goes to all the views. You want it just in the looking through camera, okay? So I'm gonna click that button. So now, this was the camera I brought the image in on, so it's just gonna be seen here. This is where I wanna just see the image, because I'm just gonna be modeling over this in this camera viewport, okay? And I've changed the transparency here to alpha gain. It's called alpha gain. Sometimes I go down to a little less, maybe 0.25. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. But you know, you can adjust this. I mean, you can also use a slider here too if you want. Okay, so maybe I'll just leave it at 0.5 for now. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so now let me go back to the channel editor. There's another thing here too, because you're going to want to switch this on and off. And you don't have to go over here and switch its visibility on and off. This is a little trick that I've picked up over the years in Maya. So I'm going to go down to the layer panel, which I've showed you how to make layers. So make sure to have your image plane selected. Make sure you see the green line there. Okay. And then hit on that button there. Now you're going to see the layer. Come over here. So now if you look at the, well, let me go over the front view, hit space bar. So now I can switch this on and off, on and off. Now you're going to want to do this for when we start bringing multiple image planes. So this is a handy little tool to use. So I'm going to rename this. I'm going to do it, name it IP underscore for image plane. I'm going to do LYR for layer. I'm going to do underscore 01. Okay. So there we go. Now I can switch this on and off. Another good thing too is to switch it into either template or a reference mode. That way you can't mess with it, right? So now it's just there. If you still want to get to the image plane controls, and you can rename here as well. Like sometimes I rename image planes when I start getting a lot of them, so I understand, I know what's going on in the file. And generally I want to go over here to attribute editor. So I'll hit attribute editor, and then I can change my display controls there. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like with when I model object over it. So let me put like a sphere here. Okay, so now you don't see it here, but you see it here. Okay, and I can do everything. So I'm not selecting on I can't select on the plane now, the image plane, because it's on a layer and it's in reference mode. But I can select on this, right? So then if I want to move that object up, say I want to start modeling the head, which is going to be a future lesson, we'll actually do a model. So there we go. Okay, so now there it is. So now I can move things around. I can put more objects in here. Like I could create a cylinder for the body. Okay, so yeah, this is what we can do. This is how we can start actually modeling with image planes. Okay, I'll hit Shift F, I'll move everything up. Yes, and then so then you would just save this out. You do go to File, Save Scene As. Generally, I'll save it out when I've got the image planes in. I won't put a model in. I'll say, like, I've saved this in multiple different levels already. So I'm a big incrementalist, and I love naming. So I know what, if I need to get back to a model in an earlier state. You can set it up to do automatic stuff like this, but I like to do it. Sometimes I get really complex models where I need to know exactly what's happening in each stage. So I tend to go through the whole save as process, but you don't have to. Okay, so that's the basics of image planes. We're going to do some multi-image plane setups, and then we're going to use these for modeling. This is going to start becoming essential to the class. The drawings you're doing, and you know, when you bring in images, and especially when you start working somewhere, these will be really useful. All right, great.